Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Nedarim Daf Lamed Ches. We are holding 6 lines from the top of the Amid. Rabbi Chama bar Chanina, Lo Yeheh Shir Moshe. Where did Moshe Rabbeinu acquire his wealth from? Elo mepsolton shaluches. It was from the carvings, the remnants of the luchais, which were carved out of snapirin material, a precious stone. So upon carving out the letters, he was left with some scraping, some remnants which were of high value, and that was Moshe Rabbeinu's source of wealth. Shenemar, how do we know this? Pesolcha. Shnei luchais avanim karishainim. Hashem tells him, Pesolcha, carve them out for yourself. We learn, Psoilton, the remnants, the psoilis, shel chayehei, will belong to you, and that's where he acquired his wealth from, as we're going to see in a minute. Ashira's wealth is a precondition for becoming a Navi, etc. So Moshe Rabbeinu gets his wealth from the carvings of the luchais. Amar b'yesi bar Chanina, lo nitna Torah elo leMoshe u'lezari. A certain aspect of Torah was only granted to Moshe Rabbeinu and his descendants. Shenamar kesav lecha, pesal lecha. Just as pesal lecha means you keep the pesolis of the luchais, as just mentioned, kesav lecha means the Torah is your possession. Ma psaltan shalcha, af kesavan shalcha. Just as the psolis belongs to you, the ksav of the Torah belongs to you. However, Moshe nohag bo toivas ayin. Moshe acted in a generous manner, unesanal Yisrael, and he gave that over to Yisrael instead of just keeping it for himself. So he fully granted the Torah to Klal Yisrael. V'olav hakasav omer, as the pasuk says regarding Moshe Rabbeinu, Toiv ayin hu yevorach, one with a good eye, with a generous heart, he himself will receive bracha from Hashem. And the Rush over here says Toiv ayin is Moshe Rabbeinu, where we find the lashon ki toivu, and he gave the Torah over completely to Klal Yisrael, even though he could have kept it to himself. The Chasam Sofer learns, what the Gemara means to say is that we all learn our halachas, our Torah Shabbal Peh, verbally. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to discern the halachos within the text of the Torah. You know, there is a known story that the Vilna Gaon, towards the end of his life, would actually just learn from a Sefer Torah. No Svarim, no Gemara, no Mishnah. He pulled out a Sefer Torah and he saw everything within the Torah. That's the tachlis, that's the epitome of Limud Torah, to see everything, all the halachas, all the details embedded within the various letters and the arrangements of the words and the surah of the oasis. So Moshe Rabbeinu had that knack, had that ability to see it all at the source, so to speak, which was a higher level of learning than Klal Yisrael, and he gave that over to us as well. Maser Rav Chizda, how can you say there's an aspect of Torah which was only meant for Moshe Rabbeinu? Hashem instructed me to teach you, to give it over to you the way it is, which would indicate it was always meant to be passed on to us. Answers the Gemara, no, not necessarily. Perhaps you can learn the pasuk like this: Hashem instructed me, Hashem gave me that special ability to connect to the source of Torah like nobody else. But v'ani lachem, I on my own decided to grant that to you as well. Another kasha from the pasuk, chukim mishpatim, I taught you the Torah, kasher tzivani Hashem Elokai, just the same as Hashem taught me, which sounds like it was passed on in its original form. The answer is no. Oisi tziva, Hashem gave it to me, and I, by my own volition, decided v'ani lachem, to give it to you, because of Moshe Rabbeinu's toiv ayin. What about the pasuk v'ato kisvu lachem es ashir hazois? So he's instructing Klal Yisrael to record, to put it in writing, to see everything in the Ksav. Why else would they have to put it down in writing? Answers the Gemara, Hashir al-Chudah. It was only meant for the Shira of Hazinu. There was a special purpose, special reason for that to be in writing, but it was specific to that parsha. What do you mean? L'mantia li hashira azois le'ed b'bnei Yisrael. It says within the parsha there that the point of writing the shira was to provide testimony, to be an aid. The shira is something which describes the potential, pitfalls to deviating from the way of Hashem, and it's an edus which ensures that we keep the Torah. So we're speaking about the entire Torah. It's not just the point of the shira for the shira's sake. It's meant to encompass everything in the Torah. So apparently everything was given to Klal Yisrael in writing, the way it's supposed to be in its original form. Answers the Gemara, you're right. The entire Torah, everything, was given to Klal Yisrael in a Ksav form, and they were able to discern everything in the Ksav, as Achsam Sefer explains. There are other ways to explain the Gemara. That's Achsam Sefer's approach. Some say the Klal Yisrael had the kiyum of Torah, but not going to have the limud of Torah. Whatever it is, the Gemara is going back from that. We're reverting to the plain, simple approach, which is, yes, everything that was given to Moshe was meant for Klal Yisrael as well. But that pertains to Torah, the way it's given, in its basic form, in its literal form. But there was a deeper facet of Torah, a deeper realm, which was accessible to Moshe Rabbeinu himself, and was really meant exclusively for his family. What is that? Ela pilpula ma'alma, the pilpul, the analytical depth. That was supposed to be for Moshe Rabbeinu, and that he gave over to Klal Yisrael as well. Says the Rush over here, Pilpula ba'alma, Havana v'charifus, a deeper understanding. V'hainu, K'savan shalcha. That was the Drasha we had, right? K'sav l'cha, recorded for yourself. Says the Rush. What does that denote, Pilpul? Ki kol ha'chochma v'ha'sechel, says the Rush. Everything, all the remuzim, all the secrets of Torah are remuzim b'ksav ha'Torah. Here, it's all in the ksav, in the suras ha'oisius, in the configuration of the oisius. You're meant to see everything, as we explained before. That really, it's all hinted, it's all alluded to within the Torah ksav, and you can have, if you have a good eye, you can actually see it there. So that ability to see the pilpul within the Torah, that was Moshe Rabbeinu's realm, his domain, and he gave that to us as well. Amar B'Yechnan, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mashur Shechinasai. You're meant to know that Hashem will only bestow His Shechina when one exhibits the following qualities. These are preconditions to Nevuah. Now the Rashba asks, well, we have so many individuals amongst, throughout history. We have Gideon, we have Lavan, we have Elimelech, we have so many others that did not necessarily possess all these qualities that we're going to mention. Strength, wealth, wisdom. So he says that the Gemara means that these preconditions for permanent Nevuah, to be appointed an official Navi, to be Zeicha to constant Hashras HaShechina, you have to be a fully qualified individual. But for an occasional encounter with Shechina, you don't necessarily need all these qualities. And the Ran, and actually the Rosh right over here says the same. He says, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mashur Shechinasai b'kviyus. He adds the word b'kviyus, on a permanent basis. And the Ran says something astounding. He says, these preconditions that we're going to see in a minute, Gibor and Asher and Chacham, they are required they are required preconditions for a leader in Klal Yisrael. He says, why? You want to impress the masses. You want to influence the masses. And he says, everybody has their quirk. The thing that appeals to them. Some people are into strength. Some people are into money, into wisdom, into an impressive-looking person. That attracts. So for a leader to really be an effective, influential leader, he needs to possess all these qualities. And Hashem will ensure that, in fact, the leader that he has in mind to lead Klal Yisrael, to be the Navi of Klal Yisrael, will possess all these qualities. So what are they? Ela al Gibor, he has to possess physical strength. V'asher, wealthy. V'chacham, wise. V'anav, and despite that all, he's exceedingly humble. And the Mepharshim Ben Yehuda says, that's the main quality. He says perhaps all the other qualities are just facilitators for anivos, because when a person has nothing, it's not such a big deal to be an anav. In fact, the Gemara Pesachim says when a person is a dal, he's poor and he's gay and he's still haughty, it's frowned upon, it's looked down upon. But a person who's a gibor, an asher and a chacham, and despite that all, he's also an anav. That's true humility. So all these qualities are necessary, and in fact the Gemara in Shabbos does add a fifth one, a Baal Kaima, somebody who's physically, imposing, physically impressive, a tall person. So this way he wields influence. He can have hashpa'ah. His words will have their proper effect. We learned in Ksubos, the end of Ksubos, we learned a similar idea that a melech, melech b'mishpat yamid oretz, v'ish tvuos yeharsena. The Gemara says that a melech has to be, a dayan has to be like a melech, independent. He can't be, dependent upon the masses, because then he has no control. Then he doesn't have respect. But if he's a ish tvuos, he's like a kohen who's running around collecting his truma bebeis hagronis. He's dependent upon the community, whether financially, whether emotionally. Then he will not yield the same power, the same influence upon the community. So in order to be an effective leader, you have to be a giver, a leader, one who can inspire, motivate, and provide, rather than being on the receiving end, in which case his influence is pretty nil. So to be a set Navi, to be a leader in Klal Yisrael, you need all these things: Gibor, Asher, Chacham, and Anav. V'kulan Moshe. Everything here is learned from Moshe Rabbeinu, who possesses all these characteristics. And the pasuk in say the Nedarim says that Moshe Rabbeinu tells us Hashem will appoint a Navi kamoni like me. So we learn from there. So say the Mefarshim that a future Navi has to encompass all these qualities akin to Moshe Rabbeinu. How do you know that Gibor is needed? We find that Moshe Rabbeinu himself covered the Mishkan with the canopy. And how big was the Mishkan? So firstly, Moshe Rabbeinu Parse, Moshe Rabbeinu himself who did it. Uksiv, how tall was the Mishkan? Eser Amos Erech HaKeresh V'chulu. Each plank was 10 amos size. The Mishkan was quite tall. Moshe Rabbeinu was big enough to just cover the Mishkan himself. So apparently he was an imposing individual, very tall, and usually size denotes physical strength as well. Well, how do we know? Maybe he was very tall, but perhaps thin, perhaps weak. Rather from the following pasuk, we see his strength. When Moshe Rabbeinu noticed the eagle, he clutched the two tablets. I took them and I tossed them down and I crushed them. And this was when the luchais became heavy suddenly, when the kedusha sort of, left the luchais, and they actually started weighing something which they hadn't until that point. So the fact that he could hold on to them, despite their large size and weight, denotes tremendous power and strength. Taisus has a different twist. He says the rayas, in the fact that he was able to throw it down and break it, the force of throwing them down and crashing it, denotes physical power. With Tanya, we learned regarding the size of the luchais. Haluchais erkan shisha. How big were the luchais? 6 tfachim, in height, 6 tfachim long. V'rach ben shisha, 6 tfachim wide. This is each one of 2 luchos. It was square, 6 by 6. V'avian shloisha, and they were 3 tvachim in thickness. And of course, we know they were made from the snap-peering material, which were stone and very heavy. So the gvur of Moshe Rabbeinu is pretty clearly exhibited in this incident. What about Ashiras? Pesolacha, that's the pasuk we had before. Psolton shlachaya, you keep the remnants of the precious stones. Chacham, how do we know he was a chacham? Rav Shmuel, Damar Tabai, they both bring a right from the pasuk. This is actually a Gemara in Shabbos as well, based on the pasuk of Mezukok Shiv'as Sayim. So Moshe Rabbeinu possessed 7 times 7, 49 levels of clarity, of comprehension of Hashem's existence. So they both explained that Chamishim Shari Bina Nivra Ba'ilam, actually we have 50 levels of understanding that Hashem created for us. Everything except for one level, meaning he had 49 levels of comprehension. He was just missing one. He was an inch away of really truly comprehending Hashem's absolute existence. So only got up until that point, but not including. And that's what the pasuk means when it says, by the way, it says, you can view, you can comprehend my back. What does that mean, my back? And the Rambam, you say that Torah explains, it means like a mashal, a person notices people from their back. So he says, that doesn't look like my friend Reuven, but who actually is he? I don't know. He's not Reuven, he's not Levi. I'm not sure exactly who he is until I actually see his face. Then I can identify him positively. So on the one hand, Moshe Rabbeinu knew that Hashem is not this, not that. Hashem is beyond everything we know in this world. So it's sort of by process of elimination, but it's not an actual, absolute, positive comprehension and identification of Hashem's true inherent existence that a person cannot come to, while he's in this world. So everything Hashem gave him except for that last level of understanding. Quite a chacham. What about an Anav? He was exceedingly humble, greater than any Anav in the world. In fact, we find that all the Nevi'im were Ashirim. And again, we're speaking about Nevi'im who appointed leaders, and they needed that extra influence, extra power of Hashpah, so they were all Ashirim, even though it doesn't necessarily seem so from the Pesukim, but you should know they were all in fact Ashirim, as we can find from the following, sample cases of a Nevi'im that we're going to have, that in fact were proven to be wealthy people. Manolah, Moshe, Shmuel, Amos, Yainu. We find all these 4 Nevi'im were in fact Ashirim. Moshe dechsiv lo chamoir echad mehem nasasi. Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, look, this was my kairach. I'm an honest leader. I'm a true leader. I haven't even taken one donkey from Klal Yisrael. Now, what was he speaking about? Ibaloi agra. I didn't take it without pay. I didn't force them, to give me a donkey for free. Is that a big deal? Afuki man de shokablei agra. He was contrasting himself to one who would just take a donkey without pay. That would be outright stealing. That wasn't a chiddush for Moshe Rabbeinu. It wasn't something to pride oneself with. I didn't steal. Apparently, he was saying, look, I didn't even hire any of their donkeys. Even that, I didn't do. Apparently, he had his own. He didn't need to hire their donkeys because he was wealthy. Well, perhaps just the opposite. He was an ani. He didn't have much belongings to carry on donkeys. And that's why he didn't hire any donkeys. The Rosh has a different girsa. Dilma, mishum de anav havi. Maybe he was out of humility. Minik chasidus, he says, not to be matriach, not to burden them. Even to arrange for a hired donkey, that would have burdened them. Tircha, he didn't want to do that to them. So it isn't necessarily an indication of Ashirus. Ella rather, how do we know Ashirus? By Moshe Min Psolacha, as we said before, Psolton, Yeheshalcha, the Psoilas of the Luches, made him rich. What about Shmuel? What do we find Ashirus by Shmuel? Tichsiv, Hinenu. Anu b'neged Hashem. He challenged Klal Yisrael. Look, respond to me in front of Hashem. B'neged Meshichai. Es shoyr mi lokachti. Tell me, did I ever take anybody's ox? V'chamoir mi lokachti. Did I take anybody's donkey? What did he mean? Mi b'chinam. I haven't taken it for free. I haven't forced you to give me a donkey. Is that a something to pride yourself with. La fuki man deshaka b'chinam. He's contrasting himself with somebody contrasting to somebody who just takes things free of charge from the masses. That's not something to pride yourself with. El dafilu b'schar. Oh, even for pay, I did not hire your livestock. Why? Because I had my own. I was an usher. Once again, Dilma de Ani Hava, maybe because he had nothing to do with it, he was an Ani. El Mihacha, he learned his Ashiras from the following pasuk. Utu Shuvasai Ramasa. He returns back to Ramah, where he lived. Kisham Beisai, that's where his house was. And we learn from the extra Kisham Beisai that his bias just went along with him, like a president, takes his whole entourage with him. Everything that he needs, all his household utensils and furniture, whatever he needed. Wherever Shmuel traveled, he never, needed to lodge by anybody. Never needed to make use of anybody's services. He took his klei tashmishay with him, whatever he needed, perhaps his tent, everything with him. So he had that ability to transport his whole, house with him. That truly is a sign of, financial depth and financial abilities. Amarava, Godol Mashanem Rabbi Shmuel. In fact, we find the description of wealth greater by Shmuel, Yoser Mishnem Moshe greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. Dilu Moshe Rabbeinu, Ksiba Moshe Rabbeinu we find, Lo Yichamar Echad Mem Nasasi, Dafilu B'Schar, that Moshe Rabbeinu did not even hire any, donkeys from Klal Yisrael. He kept, separate, financially independent from Klal Yisrael. Vilu Gabi Shmuel, Afilu B'Rotzen Lo Yischari. By Shmuel we find that even willingly he wouldn't accept it, meaning perhaps Moshe Rabbeinu didn't hire them, didn't force hire them, but perhaps if somebody would offer it, he would accept it. Shmuel didn't even resort to that. Even if they were doing it willingly, he wouldn't accept it. And the Ran says perhaps it wasn't really baratzin, it was just out of shame and embarrassment they would offer it to him, but not for real. So he didn't want to accept any offers. Klal Yisrael responded to Shmuel, yes, we acknowledge, you never stole from us, and you never even accepted any of our offerings. So we find that Shmuel and Moshe were Ashirim. What about Amos? The Navi Amos, T'chsiv, Vayan Amos vayemer el Amatzia, Lo Navi Anochi, Lo Ben Navi Anochi, Ki Boiker Anochi, U'Boiles Shekamim. So Amos describes himself in these terms. What are these things? Rabbi Yosef explains, I'm a livestock dealer, livestock owner. That's what Baiker means, like Bakar, Vishikmeli, and I have these sycamore trees, Bishvilas on the valley. I own assets, I have real estate. He was financially on sound footing. What about Yoina? He was running in haste from Hashem, so to speak, so he ran onto the ship. He paid the fee, and he bought out the whole ship. He paid for all the empty seats, and he says, let's go, I'm in a rush. And he bought out the rest of the ship. He paid for all the remaining seats, just get me out in a hurry. Now, how much did he pay? Amar of Roiminus. Didn't read the Hava. How much was it? 4,000 gold coins. An indication of Yoina's wealth. Another final Dvar Agada from Rabbi Yehuda. Initially, even Moshe Rabbeinu, when he would learn Torah, he would learn and he would forget. He could not retain this Torah. The Yerushalmi says, you know why? To give chizuk to the tipshim, so that everybody can relate to learning Torah and forgetting. It's not just me, it's Moshe Rabbeinu as well. It's just part of the human condition. We learn and forget. It's a chizuk for all of us. That's just part of the way it works. So he worked, he forgot, until he got to the point he was special heavenly assistance, Siyata D'Shmaya, Ad Shenitin Loi Matana was given to him as a gift. He retained it for all time. Shenemar V'yitel Moshe Kircha Loisei. Hashem gave it to him as a gift, like we say in the Gemara Megillah, Yogato Motzasa, when you toil and you find Tamen, believe that would happen, that Hashem will give it to you Matana, a Metzia, like something that you find. You work, and suddenly you get something that's beyond imagination. Okay, so we learned about the preconditions for a Navi, spiritual perfection as well as physical perfection, which is the making of a true effective leader in Klal Yisrael. We find that Rabbi HaKadosh was a wealthy man, etc. And we have the concept of Siyata D'Shmaya to be that we are Zeicha when we toil in Torah. So back to Nedarim. Says the Mishnah, V'zon es ishte v'espanav. We have Reuven, who's a madir hana to Shimon. Shimon, you can't have any hana for me. Still, Reuven can feed Shimon's wife and children. Avapi, shehu chayv b'zenosin. Although Shimon is responsible to look after their needs, Reuven can just give them their needs. And the Ran explains, was speaking that he's doing it for mitzvah's sake. I'm not trying to pay off, your obligations. I'm just doing them a mitzvah. Therefore, it's mutter. If he has that in mind for a mitzvah. However, he may not feed the animal of the mudar, the animal of Shimon, because he'll be giving him something outright, adding value to his animal. That's considered giving hana. Bein tameya, whether we're speaking about a non-kosher animal, which is meant primarily for working, bein tahira, whether it's a kosher animal which will eventually be slaughtered, either way you can't feed his animals. Rabbi Lezer Omer, zon esat tameya, ve'eino zon esat tahira. True, you can't feed his tahir animal, but you can feed his tummy animal. Now the Ran will tell us, we're not speaking about basic feeding, basic sustenance, to prevent its death. That would be asur, either way. Rabbi Lezer wouldn't disagree with that. When Rabbi Lezer says you can feed the behemoth tmeya of your mudar hana, we're speaking about extra feeding. He calls it pitum. The force feeding, the stuffing, getting it fatter and fatter, fattening it. In that sense, Rabbi Lezer holds, he disagrees with Tanakama. He says, so when it comes to Behemoth Torah, I understand, adding the mezainis and fattening the animal would be a problem, because he's adding value. We can, sheikh it and eat it and sell it. But by Behemoth Tmeya, which is meant primarily for Malacha, he says you're actually slowing him down by fattening him. So it's to the detriment of the Mudar Hana. It's not considered giving him anything, and therefore it's mutter to be mefatim the Behemoth Tmeya. Amr loy, but the Chachamim responded, what's the difference? Ma bein Tmeya la Torah. What's the difference between a Behemoth Tmeya and a Behemoth Torah? By the Torah you agree, by the Tmeya you disagree. What's the difference? Amr Lucy, he says, look, very pashut. Shatoira, when it comes to a kosher animal, nafshal shemaim, although its spirit goes up to shemaim, you can't, it's not kept. But the gufa, the actual animal shalai remains by the owner. You eat it, you sell it. So the bigger, the fatter it is, the more valuable. Utmei, when it comes to a non-kosher animal, which is meant primarily for melacha, nafsha v'gufa l'shemayim. When it dies, just like the nefesh goes upstairs, you don't have nothing from it. The guf as well sort of goes upstairs. It's just an expression. It means to say he doesn't really have much from the fatter, horse or donkey. And actually, it slows him down. That's not what I want. Amr loy, the Chacham responded, no, they're still concerned. Afatmeya, nafshal hashamayim b'guf hashaloi. The tmeya as well, although the nefesh disappears, but the guf remains down here. Although he himself, the Yisrael, can't have from it, but he can sell it. He can feed it to an animal. Shem Yertz, if he so wishes, harehu moichaloi b'kechav, moimachil l'klub, he can sell it to a guy or feed it to the dogs. So in effect, you benefited him by giving him that extra fat, fattening. Now, it would seem that the machlekes here is how to view the non-kosher animal. The animal is meant for malacha, right? That's the primary purpose of the animal. Primary function is for working, and that's Rabbi Lezer's rationale. You haven't really helped the owner by fattening his working animal. You're slowing him down. Whereas the Tanakama says, well, after all, it's also meant for consumption, whether the goya, whether the kelev. So ultimately, by adding the extra mezainis, you are benefiting the mudar hana, and it's us. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Chananya, Amar Rav Huna, Muhammadu hana mechaveru. So Shimon is a mudar from Reuven. Reuven can't benefit Shimon. Mutar lahasi lebito is still Reuven can marry off his daughter, his young daughter. We're assuming it's a daughter who's still in his possession, a nara, who's still in her husband's, domain. a father's domain. So father can give that daughter to Shimon, who is a mudar hanoah from him. Havi bar Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera had a kash on this. My skin, what are you speaking about? Who's the mudar to whom? Now we're speaking that the girl's father, Reuven, cannot benefit Shimon. His possessions are asa to Shimon. How could he give him his daughter? Isn't he giving him a sort of a servant to help, a maid servant to serve him? Meaning, he's giving him a wife. That's no. So it can't be speaking about that case. Ella was speaking. Shimon the Chassan may not benefit Reuven, the father of Kala. And we allow the father of Kala to hand his daughter over to Shimon for marriage. Despite the fact, what's the Chiddush here? Despite the fact, Shimon is now assuming responsibility for Reuven's daughter's welfare. He's feeding her, he's taking care of her, taking the place of her father. He's relieving, so to speak, the father of his responsibilities. That's a hanoah. Right? You could do that because it's only a residual hanoah, it's a grama. It's not a direct gift to him. So it's mutter. But what's the chiddush? We need Rav Huna to tell us this. We have already learned this halacha and even a greater halacha, a bigger chiddush in the Mishnah. G'dayla mizu amru. The Mishnah says, Zonas ishtay vezbanav, v'afa pishu chay b'zayneisa. A stranger, a mother hanoah, can approach Reuven's, Shimon's, the Mudar's family and feed them, even though they are currently under his care. He is currently responsible for their welfare. That's okay, as we explained in the Mishnah, because he's not actually giving Shimon anything, just giving his family what they need. But Amrus muta lasle bitay. So once we know that from the Mishnah, do you need to tell me that Reuven can marry his daughter off to Shimon? True, Shimon is taking over for Reuven's, responsibilities, but it's a very indirect. Once she enters Shimon's domain, he's going to look after her. That's a chiddush, fine, because he's alleviating Reuven of his, achrayis from his own. It's true, but once we know that he can actually go and feed the other fellow's kids and the wife while still married, as we learned in the Mishnah, certainly in this case, when he's just doing it by default, he's marrying the fellow's daughter and feeding her as his wife. What's the chiddush? It's a davar pashut. Answers the Gemara. Let's go back to the original theory. So again, Rav Huna tells us when there's a mudar hanoah, you can marry. What's the case? Lo elam b'shenichsei avi kala asurim ala chassan. So Reuven, the father of Kala, may not benefit Shimon the chassan, the potential chassan. Question: how can he give him his daughter? It's like a shifcha l'shamsha. Answer: we're not speaking about a nara who is still under her father's care, and father is actually doing the marriage. No, she's way older, full-fledged adult, and getting married by her own volition, her own das. She's the one marrying. Father's not involved. And the Taisus and Rush say, well, even if father is a bit involved, he's arranging the shidduch, he's convincing her, that's okay. They say, Dibur, Hanas, Dibur is not a Hana. That's the lashon of Taisus here. So that's the chiddush. We're not speaking about a nara, a ktana, he's actually giving over to the chas. That he can't do. He's giving him something. She's walking over on her own. She's marrying herself on her own, and therefore it's mutter. Tani nami we find the same in the Bryce. So if Reuven is a mother against Shimon, who's a mudar, Reuven can't give his daughter to Shimon. He can't when she's young, because it's his gift to Shimon. But when she's older, it's her own marriage, it's mutter. Rabbi Yaakov, a fellow sees his son being very successful, totally immersed in Torah, he wants to avoid any distractions and disruptions. And he makes a neder, look, my dear son, for you, Torah and only Torah. I don't want you to serve me. Don't want you to be involved in anything that distracts you from learning. Despite that, says the Gemara, small little chores which don't really divert his attention from Torah, that's okay. Mutar lamalas lechavis shamayim. Son can still fill his father's barrel of water, without the saner, and kindle the ner. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, he can even fry a small fish. These things are small, by the way, chores. Amar b'Yirmiyah, Amar b'Yechanan. Another halacha, hamudar no mechaberoi. Mutar lashkoisei kais shel shalem. Even though you are mother your friend, you can still pour him this kais shel shalem. Ma'aniu, what is that? A kais which brings peace. Hachatar here in Bavel they explained kais shel beis ha'avel, the filling of the glass in the mourner's home. So we're speaking about wine which belongs to the mourner. But the visitor who's a Mader Hanog and may not benefit the mourner, may not give him anything, could still serve him this kais because it's not really considered a significant Hano, it's just a minhag. The Ran says, that's why it's called kais shel shalom, something just done to promote peace and friendship, and just a minhag hamokim. Therefore, you just follow along. You don't have to stand out from the rest of the crowd. Bima Rava Amri in Eretz Yisrael explained what is the kais shel shalom. Kais shel beis hamerchatz, some type of kais which they fill in the beis hamerchatz. You can serve him that kais. Tanya Yeshua Ish Uza Eimer explain like this: Zon avoda v'shevchesav aknanim. So a Mader Hano can serve the extra feed. Again, we're not speaking about basic feed, but extra feed to the Mudar's slaves, non-Jewish slaves, because he has nothing from fattening them. But he can't feed his animal in this manner, whether it's a tummy or tar, because ultimately that benefits the Mudar. My time, what's the difference between an animal and the Eved? Very simple. Avodah v'shevchesav aknanim, his slaves. L'machrusa avidan. The Ran has a gersa l'manakrusa. They're there to clean, to work. Their size and weight is totally irrelevant. Therefore, it's not considered a benefit, as opposed to behema l'petuma avidah is meant for fattening, and therefore, adding the extra mezoines actually serves to benefit its owner, and therefore it's usr. So in conclusion, regarding the Mader Hano offering mezoines, so we have two types of mezoines: basic needs, k'dei chayusan, and we have the extra, the yoser, which serves to fatten them. So when it comes to basic needs, according to the Ran, in all cases it's usr because he's actually salvaging his livestock or his eved. He's providing very much hana to the mudar, whether it's a beima Torah, tmei, or avodim. When it comes to extra food, beima Torah is usr according to all shittas because the extra pitum is to the benefit of its owner. When it comes to beima tmei or machlekes, according to the Rabbanan, it would be mutar. According to the Rabbanan, it would be asr, and according to Blazer, it would be mutar because beima tmei is primarily meant for work, in which case fattening him doesn't really help him too much; it just slows him down. When it comes to avodim, we conclude that it's mutar because over there is absolutely no gain or benefit from a fattened eved. Okay, let's recap today's daf. Moshe Rabbeinu's Ashiras was derived from the Psoilas of the Luchais, Psolacha. Hashem says, you keep the Psoilas. Moshe Rabbeinu was extra generous. He gave over the Torah to us in its original form the same way that he got it. The preconditions of a Navi, of a leader, one who was meant to be Zecha to Ashruas Hashchina B'Kvius, has the following prerequisites: Gibar, Asher, Chacham, and Anav, all learned from Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu learned Torah initially and would forget it until he got B'matana, and we learned about the Mader Hana feeding the belongings, the possessions of the Mudar Hana. We learned about the Mader offering his daughter, who's already a Gdoila, to the Mudar Hana. That's okay. And we learned about Mader B'nei Talmud Torah, but little chores are mutar, as well as Kais shel Shalom, which is either Kais shel Beis Ha'avel or Kais shel Beis HaMerchatz. B'suras Tovas, may Hashem give us much hatzlacha. All the best.